One of the things that I just love about watching the Olympics is people's hard work, determination. They have a purpose there, they know what they're doing, and just watching them accomplish those things and really living out this purpose that they feel called to in this season of their life. And so, talking about purpose and the Olympics, we actually have an Olympian on with us today on today's show. So, I'm excited to welcome Krista Duchene to the show. She is a well-known as Canada's marathon mom. She won the marathon in 2009 on Mother's Day, not long after the birth of her second child. She was also third in the 2018 Boston Marathon and competed in the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. And she's here today to discuss with us about the role of faith on and off the track. So let's welcome Krista to the show. Krista, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the Olympics are coming up. And so could you briefly just share with us some of the key milestones in your journey from starting out as a recreational runner right through to an Olympian?
Right. My story is a bit unique in that I did my first marathon for fun as a recreational athlete in 2002. And then 7 years later, as you mentioned in the intro, I won a marathon on Mother's Day. So that's where I got the title Canada's Marathon Mom, and realized that this was an opportunity for me to take the next step in making this a career. So I won some prize money. I was able to step back a bit in my job as a dietitian with the hours that I was working so that I could do a bit more training. And I just kept kind of working away at getting a bit faster each time. And my next milestone, I think, which is worth mentioning, was 2012, 3 years after that special day. And I went to Rotterdam to try to make the Olympic standard. It wasn't in the plan that spring, but I had run a 30-kilometer race in Hamilton called Around the Bay at the pace that was necessary to make the Olympic team for 2012. So changed our plans, traveled over to Europe. And even though I came short and didn't make that Olympic standard, I was 7 minutes faster than my time before that and made my mark on the Olympic stage. So those are two pretty key moments in my athletic career in the beginning.
Wow, incredible. And, as much as there was a lot of victories, you also saw a lot of setbacks during your time. You talk about this, being a professional runner, but enduring some injuries or even navigating motherhood and running. So what have you done to navigate those difficult valleys, in your journey? And what role has your faith played in that?
Well, it's all about my faith. And my favorite quote is Eric Liddell's, "I believe God made me for a purpose, but he also made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure." So I always knew that I had this ability to run, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be without setbacks and disappointment. So when these things happened, I saw this as an opportunity to grow in my faith. And I remember hearing a story about someone saying, it's like when you sprain your ankle and you have to put it in a bucket of ice to have healing, to get better. So I embraced those opportunities, as difficult as they were, because I knew it was deepening my trust and faith in God and making me stronger for it.
Wow. And just in the same way that those moments can bring a lot of reward and a lot of growth in us, can you share some of those rewarding moments in your athletic career and how they've shaped you today?
Yeah, a real standout moment, obviously, is the Olympics in 2016. 3 of my siblings and 3 kids and husband were there, and it was just an incredible event. My experience in the Olympic Village was amazing and fun, and I had prepared to race in the heat after an unpleasant situation in the heat at the World Championships a few years before. So when we were at that race, my family that was there was just elated to see me finish that race, hands in the air, celebrating because I did it. I became an Olympian, and I got to run over and hug them. And, there's lots of tears and crying and celebrating. And I will forever remember that day as being so special. And then a second one worth mentioning would be the 2018 Boston Marathon, where I placed third. The conditions were cold and wet and rainy, but because of my training in Canada, in Ontario, where it was cold and very difficult that winter, that prepared me to run with the world's greatest in the women's marathon. So I wasn't as fast as them, but I was strong enough to get a third place finish, which was far beyond my goals and expectations going into that race. So my husband was there, the kids were back at home. So it's really special that we got to share that moment together.
Yeah, I love that because sometimes we think setbacks are kind of the end, or we think maybe if I'm having so many setbacks, this isn't my purpose, or we tend to give up. But you really use those as opportunities to persevere and push through those moments, both the victories and those more challenging times, because you were set towards, this is the season for this. This is the purpose for that. So how has your understanding of purpose evolved since transitioning from a professional athlete to where you are today?
Right. I've just, enjoyed each season as it's come. And I'm at a different point in my career now in that I retired from the marathon last year when I ran in Tokyo. That was my sixth star. And I had done the world championships and the Olympics. And, I was getting older. So I then embraced the opportunity to train for an ultra, and I do some coaching as well. So I knew it would be good to learn what it was like to run 100 kilometers up and down hills with mud and everything else. So I've just kind of gone with each season and enjoyed learning. I feel like I'm starting over again with this. And there's so much joy in this, and that's why I do it. I think like any job, it doesn't feel like a job when you wake up in the morning and you're excited to get back at it, as opposed to, oh, I got to go to work today. So it's also created other opportunities for broadcasting and public speaking and coaching. And I will always be grateful for all of those things that I've been able to get out of this career.
So what advice would you have for someone who maybe is pursuing a goal diligently, but they're just struggling to find a sense of purpose, or maybe experiencing some setbacks in it? What advice would you give to them?
Well, I think that we need to appreciate that we get to set goals and train and work toward them and have something to try to accomplish. So that in itself is very rewarding. And, when we have injury or illness or a setback, it's very difficult. But if you can get through that and, recover from that, when you get back to training or pursuing that goal again, you appreciate it even more. So you can look back at those troubling times, and when you get to the time of victory and you're back at that goal again, you can celebrate because you know where you've been, and you can be pleased for where you've come from and where you are.
Well, thank you, Krista. That was so enlightening, so good. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.